I just have kind of a slight announcement. Bob and Kenny have changed my website a little bit. And on the first page, there's a link there that says what I teach. And if it ever gets confusing for you to know exactly what Rudra meditation is really all about, I suggest you go there. There's a very nice and very, in-depth essay exactly on this work, what it is, how it works. And I think it might be very informative for anybody, not for anybody, frankly, who's interested in any kind of a spiritual life. So I suggested it was just put there. I think Bob and Kenny did a very good job. I think Bob did most of it, and it was a very good job. And I was very pleasantly surprised when I read it. I literally hadn't remembered even writing it, and there it was. And I think it's in depth and it's clear, easy to read, and I think people can truly benefit from it to, really discover what this meditation is all about. Does anyone have a question they would like to ask? Somebody must have a question.
Stuart, I have a question.
Let's call Bob to the rescue.
We'll see. Um, you wrote that piece. That piece has been up for a very long time.
Really?
Yes,
It's been on the website?
it's been on the website, buried, and Kenny and I are going through it. And it's like we're fine-tuning things. We need to bring forward things like this, and things will evolve as we go through. But the idea is to uh, I think it's a very interesting statement of what you teach. Now, my the question is, how have I mean, you've changed tremendously, and the
Oh,
way that you teach has changed tremendously. So, having just read that, what are the things that are the same? What are the things that are different?
I'm just a lot easier about life, Bob. I really mean it. I'm relaxed more. Yeah, sometimes yesterday I had to do what I did, and I don't like doing what I did yesterday with someone. But uh, mostly I listen to people, I learn from them, and I'm not impatient with their mistakes. I'm not impatient with my own mistakes. And I try to really be in touch with a very deeply human part of myself. Gratitude for life, gratitude for what I've been given in my life. And it's all manifesting now. Well, it really is. I've never known this kind of inner quiet and this way of relating to other people as I know now. And I'm very grateful. I talk all the time about change. These changes have been extremely profound. I mean, they have really transformed my whole inner being. And you don't remember the way I used to be. I was very intense and very on everybody's case, and I'm not on anybody. Well, yesterday I was, but I had to do that. I had to do it, and it really worked out very well. So you're sitting with a different Stuart today. I barely recognize myself. from the way I used to be when I was younger. And I'm really grateful for it. I think change is significant and important, especially when the change makes us more human. I don't even mean spiritual, I mean human, the heart's open, there's gratitude, there's love, you know, I'm not sitting in judgment of anybody, which to me has been a really major load off, I'll tell you. And I don't know better than anybody. All of you are here really to teach me. And your questions, your presence here is an extraordinary teacher for me. And when that started to change in me, I began to realize, so many things that Rudy went through when I was with him, and watching him change inside and become a totally different person. I was there, I watched it, I saw it, and I wasn't there yet when I was with him. It took years and years and years of inner work to transform myself to where I could live that way. I could be that way. And I think it's an example of the way everybody should truly work on themselves. I said the other day, it's really patience and longevity. If you have the time and you have the patience and you truly commit yourself, as I also say all the time, to having a spiritual life, not just lip service commitment, but through what you do during the day, how you live during the day, what you contribute to a situation to make the situation work. I mean, all of that is essential. It's not just saying I'm committed or I'm grateful. I once got my ass kicked by Rudy because he said, I'm sick and tired of your lip service gratitude. Never forget it. We were in India and he was going through a really hard time there. And he came up to me and said, I'm really sick and tired of your lip service gratitude, Stuart. I want to see something in the way you act. He changed me there. And then it took me time to grow into it, years sometimes to grow into that. Took me years when as I was leaving for Denton, Texas, to go there for 3 weeks to teach, the last thing he said to me, said, if anyone ever asks you who and what the guru is, you tell them the guru is life. Now, it really honestly took me 20 years to absorb and learn that teaching. All of that through patience, longevity, working on myself, it changed me. It wasn't that I'll come to a class, I said, this is important for my life. Everything I do evolves around sitting and doing this meditation. I don't just fit it in when I have some spare time. And it's completely transformed my life. And it hasn't negated anything. I mean, you remember that house I used to live in, that loft? I mean, unbelievable, the way I've lived in my life. I mean, I'm living in a much simpler way now, although I kind of live in a museum here, but it's much simpler, you know? So what I'm saying is that time, patience, longevity, doing it, a sincere commitment to God and a spiritual life, it transforms you. Eventually, you have to learn something about how to live your life. And you're seeing the fruits of it now. I'm not getting younger, for God's sake. I'm going to be 83 years old. And, and it's hard for me to believe that. I don't feel like that, but that's the truth. Rudy said it more profoundly than anyone. He said it takes 9 months to have a baby. I'll never forget when he said that. It went right through me. It takes 1 second to die. And he was talking about the patience you need to have to truly mature into, a, a period in time where you're ready to give birth to yourself. And if any time between point A and point B, you walk away from it, it's like sealing a death warrant. Especially if somewhere in your heart, there really is a need to be with God, to have a spiritual life. And I always thank God that this work we do is not fanatical. You know, you don't have to live on diets and this and that, and sit and meditate 12 hours a day, and chant mantras 92 hours a minute. And it's you do it. Come to class. The class is an hour long. Maybe you meditate. You have time during the day. Find a place. It's important to do that. To do your meditation every day for a half hour, 20 minutes. If you do those things, every class you'll get enough energy to live, I don't know, a week, a month in every class, if you really do the class. That's how powerful these classes are. And then we're burning lifetimes of karma. It's not just this lifetime. God knows how many lifetimes we've all had. And all of that karma has to be burnt up. So that's the changes you see in me, Bob. You've been, I think, kind of amazing. And ask Jennifer. I laugh all day. It's really true. I don't take myself so seriously anymore. And I used to really take myself seriously when I was younger. I mean, some of you were with me years ago. Wendy, you were there. Chris, you used to work for me, Chris, for God's sake. How you survived that, I don't know.
It was a delight. That's where I learned.
The store was like a zoo. I mean, it was unbelievable. I used to go on in that place.
It was amazing.
Hang on, folks, I got to sell something in order to live.
It was the circus. When you say nobody goes to the circus to have a lousy time, it was the circus. It was fabulous.
It was fantastic.
Yeah.
Incredible. We had everything from movie stars to street people that used to come in there. It was really unbelievable place.
It's really fun.
Does anyone else have a question?
Stuart, I have another question.
Yes,
When you say give birth to yourself, is that active or passive or both?
it's active. I mean, look, the passage of energy through the sex to the base of the spine is a way of giving birth to yourself. It's the union of the male, female, the yin yang, the Shiva Shakti that takes place it's like an immaculate conception when that takes place. And what you give birth to is your soul, literally marrying itself to Kundalini and going up the spine and becoming one with God. So yes, it's a very active state of being. I mean, the energy needs to go through the sexual area. And the sexual area is, you go to Pashupatinath in Kathmandu, they must have 1,000 statues there of a bull with a lingam and a yoni and a cobra. It's exactly what happens. The bull is like the chakra below the navel. The lingam and the yoni is where the Shiva Shakti come together, marry, and the cobra is the Kundalini force rising. I mean, they knew about this in the 6th century, for God's sake. And somewhere in the last 1,500 years or more, it's gotten lost. So it's a very active state of inner consciousness. And it takes time to get strong enough in yourself to enable that kind of experience to happen. It's the essence of Tantra. I mean, the essence of Tantra is not promiscuity. It's really the marriage of the male-female principle in the sexual area to give birth to a spiritual life. And this is almost something mythological until you finally experience it. And then it's a very practical thing. It's very practical. It's part of the evolution of consciousness that takes place in a human being. And to be very frank, I have never read about this in a book. I used to sell a lot of tantric art and I knew a lot about it, but I never read anything like this. It's something that came through my own internal experience. I've written a book on Tantra where there's a lot of this in it. It's probably the first book ever written that way about Tantra. Does anyone else have a question? I would like. I'm looking for a publisher for that thing. You don't have a publisher, let me know. I sent it to 3 or 4 publishing houses that I thought a second they would come back and say yes. Like Shambhala, like Sounds True, all these places. I never got an answer. It's unbelievable. I was kidding around with somebody. I said, if my name was Lady Gaga and I wrote a book on Tantra, they would publish it in 5 seconds. Does anyone else have a question they would like? Hey, there'll be meditation tomorrow evening. Thank you. God bless you all. And I'm looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Good night, Stuart. Thank you.
Good night.